Okay, so I just reviewed my notes again, and I saw in my notes that after a bracket and number, I need to label premises and conclusions. And I think I'm going to go ahead and start eliminating excess verbiage. So I remember in several videos, and I saw in my notes, I wrote down a tip that if I did this correctly, this is likely to be a conclusion. So I'm going to go ahead and say that's just a conclusion. This is what I'm supposed to be. If I did this correctly, what I have after this should be attempting to support that the claim in this statement 1 is true. This is going to be challenging because I've got a lot of statements. I'm going to have to make use of all my physiological and psychological resources to do this because I am not feeling this. This is a lot to work through, but I just need to get it done. I'll probably understand my own logic better by the end of it. Okay, so let's keep going. On the one hand, I'm tempted to say he should have. Okay, so I was giving a side, and then, because, so I was giving a reason, all lives matter, and I emphasized that this statement 2 is a reason with the word after all. I put my premise, I made like a premise indicator sandwich. Okay, so this is definitely a premise, and it's being given in support of the statement immediately before it in the same sentence for this as a conclusion. And I can tell from the way I set up this sentence that 2 and, oh crap, I just realized I missed a statement. I missed numbering a statement. Okay, so this is actually statement 3. This is actually statement 4. This is actually statement 5. So I bracketed the statement, but I forgot to number it, which would throw my diagram completely off, causing me to not get any points, possibly, maybe some, but I don't know how Dr. Carrillo decides to do that extra credit stuff. Okay, so I actually have 9 statements. Good thing I saw that. I think I already did this, but just in case, I like to have mistakes in there and leave them. I really did make that mistake pretending to be a student. But it's important for you to see me role modeling how to do, the approach and the mindset to have a mistake. Don't like beat yourself up. As long as you're really trying and you're giving your all, you're being intellectually perseverant, then be intellectually humble and say, you know what, I made a mistake. I'm a human being. I don't always apply things correctly. I'm limited in my physiological and psychological resources. So, it happened. And then you just correct it. But this is real life. Whenever I construct an argument or do the demonstration videos, I'm role modeling to you. And that includes mistakes and a good mindset to have about them. Back in student mode. Okay, so, all right, so that's a premise in support of that. So this, I know, is being, based on what I said, this is being all given in support of this claim right here. So I remember she said that more likely than not, that if we do have a complex argument, if we have 2 conclusions, then we have a complex argument. And we have to figure out, and she said that if we did this argument correctly, if we have 2 conclusions, then there's a 99% chance that the first one is a final conclusion. And I know that's a conclusion for that thing right there. I mean, yeah, I know that, yeah. So I know that this is a premise for that conclusion. So this has got to be a sub-conclusion. I'm so glad I wrote down all those tips and warnings because this really helped me to figure out that this was a sub-conclusion and this is a final conclusion. Okay. You know what? I think I'm going to start doing the pattern as I go along. So right now, so far, I have a final conclusion. Of course, then I have to remember to make changes to my pattern if I make changes to the ordinary argument at any point. But right now, I think I have a final conclusion. Right now, I think I have a final conclusion followed by a sub-conclusion followed by a premise. Okay. That said, I can also see the other side. I don't know if that's functioning as anything I want to keep in there, so I'm just going to do question marks. So I'm going to do question marks. Okay, I know I can't leave that in there, but for right now, I'm going to put that in there. For example, someone might reason that, so I'm saying the other side, how someone on the other side might reason, an opposing view, opposing argument, opposing logic. So I'm probably going to give it, I guess I'm giving it the argument for the other side. The reason that might be telling me that a premise is coming. Police officers are trained to protect and preserve life. So, yeah, so typically functions, let me check my notes. Is so a premise or a conclusion indicator? I want to say it's a conclusion indicator. Let me check my notes. Yep. I'm looking at my list of typical premise and conclusion indicators. I already know that this is my final conclusion. I know that's a conclusion. And since I'm using my college-ready reading skills, which I remember is in the syllabus, I have to have college-ready reading skills. I know that using those skills, that statement 5, given that it's in the same sentence as statement 6, given the logic and the wording, that statement 5 must be a premise. Woohoo! All right, so I've got my conditional there. I didn't chop it in half. Thus can I, okay, so thus, conclusion indicator, I already know where my final conclusion, a subconclusion. Even though the arguments need a bit of fleshing out, using my intellectual empathy, I'm able to see how rational both arguments are. I don't know if that's supposed to follow from anything. I think it might be a premise. I can put question marks and decide while I'm reformatting. That was a great strategy she gave us. Okay, for making final decisions. Consequently, I'm pretty sure that's a conclusion indicator, typically, but let me go check my notes. Oh, yep, conclusion indicator. So I'm willing to bet. All right, so I forgot to keep doing this as I went along. So question mark, okay, so then I have premise, subconclusion, subconclusion, so premise. Wait a minute. Didn't she say that we couldn't have two P's consecutively together when doing a pattern? Let me go check. Of course, I don't know what this is. So if this isn't a P, this is okay. But can we have two SCs? Let me go look at my warnings and tips as well as my mandatory notes. Okay, so we can have, that would be correct according to my notes, my warnings and tips. So an example, so subconclusion, subconclusion, subconclusion. Not sure about that, so I will just do that as premise. And then I have subconclusion here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 9 statements, so I should have 9 items here, unless something here, unless a statement is entirely contextual or irrelevant in some way. Okay, so I think I'm good with this. It's time to start eliminating excess verbiage.